In Genesis chapter 2, we see the creation of man and woman. However, as I dove into this chapter, I saw 4 different sections. So let's break it down by those sections. Section 1 includes verses 1 to 3, where he speaks of the seventh day when God finished his work and blessed the day and made it holy. Genesis 2, 1 to 3. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. This is where we adhere to keeping the Sabbath day holy, using that day to reflect on God, his mighty work, and his commands and promises for us. In section 2, it includes how God created Adam, but he also describes the work that the man was created for and describes the details of the Garden of Eden. It gives us a lot more insight into the environment that Adam was placed in. And just to note, Adam is just the term used to reference the first man, meaning man or human, and I believe that's how we just refer to that man as Adam. So Genesis 2, 4 to 17. I'll just read select verses here, but I recommend reading through it all. Verse 5. When no bush of the field was yet in the land, and no small plant of the field had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the land, and there was no man to work the ground, and a mist was going up from the land, and was watering the whole face of the ground. Then the Lord God formed the man of dust from the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living creature. Verse 15. Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. Verse 16, 17. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, You may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. These verses share how Adam was created with an intention to tend to the field and the garden, not to sit idly around, actually to do work. This is also the introduction of free will, where Adam now is given the choice to obey God or to sin. The third section is the creation of women. Genesis 2, 18 to 20. Then the Lord God said, It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. Now out of the ground the Lord God had formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all livestock, and to the birds of the heavens, and to every beast of the field, but for Adam there was not found a helper fit for him. Very interesting in that God brings the animals to man to act as a helper, and the man names them, but through those vast amounts of animals he encountered, none were suitable to be his helper in the field. So God puts Adam to sleep, removes a rib, and creates woman. Genesis 2, 21 to 23. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and while he slept, took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh. And the rib that the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman and brought her to the man. Then the man said, This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of a man. It's interesting. It's almost as though this man, Adam, goes under general anesthesia, falls into a deep sleep, loses a rib, and is closed up. The wound is closed up. There's flesh placed on it. And I'm curious, was there any bruising or scarring? We don't know about that. But the man continues to name every creature and calls this person woman. Additionally, the quote that he gives as this at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh is notable phrase, because Adam is also identifying the partner as a woman and recognize her as a blood relative, We see this example from Laban in Genesis 29 when he says to Jacob, and Laban said to him, "Surely you are my bone and my flesh," recognizing him as a blood relative. This last section, section 4, is in the last 2 verses of chapter 2. It seems to describe the union of a man and a woman as partners who become one flesh. Additionally, man needs to prioritize his woman over his parents. We see that first instruction for the relationship between man and woman. Genesis 2:24-25. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. This is interesting because, as you know, Adam and the woman don't have parents. So who is the mother and father that this verse is referring to? It's this understanding that they will be fruitful and multiply, and it's almost as an instruction to all the descendants of Adam and Eve. And I just feel that Genesis is just a wealth of information, not just about the creation of the universe, but what the purpose of man was, what the purpose of woman was, how a union should be made, what their priorities should be amongst each other. And I find every time I read through Genesis, I'm just learning more and more. There's so much in this one chapter. I keep getting inspired to read it over and over and discover new insights. But we will move over to chapter 3, which talks about the fall of man.